someone's having a lot of table salt, and remember what table salt contains? 2 minerals. That's what table salt contains, just those two. 2 minerals. And if someone's having a lot of table salt, those 2 minerals are so harsh, if you were to inject them straight into the person, they would die. Well, what's normal saline solution? It has got a couple of more minerals and it's greatly watered down. But if that sodium chloride was to go straight into the veins, the person would die. And when a person is sprinkling table salt all over their food, they're such harsh minerals, those 2 by themselves, they kill the taste buds. Have you noticed? The people shake it all over the food. They haven't even tasted whether it needs it or not. Well, no wonder. Their taste buds are dying. When you put the Celtic salt on the food, it awakens the taste buds. It's a delicious salt. So let's say someone's putting table salt on everything, and of course it's got no minerals in it at all. Sodium levels are rising. Potassium is found in all your fresh fruits and vegetables. And let's say the person is busy, they haven't got time to chew an apple or eat the fresh fruit and vegetables, they just eat the fast food. Potassium levels are dropping. Now sodium is in small amounts inside the cell. So what's happening inside the cell now? Sodium levels are rising, potassium levels are dropping. Osmosis and diffusion happens when the largest concentration merges into the lowest, which starts to happen in here because potassium levels are too low, and then the cell swells. What's that called? High blood pressure. The doctor is right. Table salt can greatly contribute to high blood pressure. And so what's the person told to do now? Stop the salt. Now sodium levels are going too low. And when the sodium levels inside the cell go too low, the cell swells. What's that? High blood pressure again. You see, both extremes are unsafe. The table salt is dangerous because of the imbalance of minerals. No salt is dangerous because did you know that sodium is the 3rd most vital element needed for life? You'll find that in every anatomy and physiology book, every biology book, every chemistry book. The 3rd most vital element needed for life. What's the first? Oxygen. What's the second? Water. What's the third? Sodium. What's the 4th? Potassium. So a salt-free diet is a very unscientific diet. It's a dangerous diet because you think about it. We cry, seawater. We sweat, seawater. We urinate, seawater. I haven't tasted that, but I don't think anyone has. But baby swims in utero in seawater. We need salt. Every time we urinate, cry, perspire, we're losing it. And we need to replace it. And we need to replace it the way it is found in nature with all of the other minerals. You'll hear so many different things, won't you? And that's why I like to come from fact and basic common sense. And what's a baked potato without salt? I ask you. Our palate tells us we need the salt. Now this salt, with all of its minerals, enhances the food, brings out the flavour in the food. This salt overpowers everything and kills the taste buds, so basically you need more and more and more. And it brings this big imbalance. That explains why the table salt is not a good salt. It's a dangerous salt and shouldn't be taken, especially if the person's got high blood pressure. So looking at this, I'd like to start listing the causes of high blood pressure. So one of the causes of high blood pressure is table salt. Another cause of high blood pressure is no salt, as I have explained. Lining the gastrointestinal tract, especially as we'll see tomorrow, are villi. And on the villi there are receptor sites for the glucose that's broken down from the food that we eat. The glucose comes into the receptor site and there's a carrier there, and the carrier will take the glucose through to the blood. But the carrier says, I will not accept you, glucose, unless you come with a molecule of sodium. When sodium is present, then the carrier will take the glucose through to the blood. Now, I have memorized this from the Anatomy and Physiology book, so I could give it to you from the horse's mouth. Sodium is the main transport system of glucose across the brush border wall. So you can see a salt-free diet's crazy. If someone's on a salt-free diet, some of their glucose can't even get into the blood. It ends up in the little house. So salt is important, but it needs to be taken in its balanced form. And the Bible talks about salt. It's in Matthew 5, chapter 5, verse 13. It says, Ye are the salt of the earth. If the salt hath lost its savour, wherewith shall it be salted? It is henceforth good for nothing but to be cast out and trodden under foot of men. It's Old English. I love the Old English. Very poetic, easy to memorise. How does the salt lose its savour? I'd like to suggest that this salt has lost its savour. Its savour is all the other minerals. And what does the Bible say? It's henceforth good for nothing, but to be cast out and trodden under foot of men. Well, there's one use for it. When we're at Misty Mountain in the wet season, there are leeches. And if you get a leech on you and put the table salt on it, it'll fall off. I can't think of anything else. I don't suppose you have leeches here, huh? Too cold. So that's the salt issue. And my endeavour was to explain these things to you so that you will no more be confused about the salt. In his book, The Calcium Lie, Dr. Robert Thompson, he maintained should we have that little bit of salt just to replace the minerals that we lost yesterday in our urine, in our sweat. We need salt. Let's continue the causes of high blood pressure. Another cause of high blood pressure can be a vitamin D deficiency. How so? Well, calcium is a very important mineral. And calcium cannot get into the cell by itself. Calcium needs vitamin D. And when vitamin D is present, calcium is pulled into the cell. And when calcium's pulled into the cell, all the other minerals piggyback on the back of calcium. And this is why calcium is called the king. Because calcium's called the king, because when calcium gets in, all the other minerals get in, it's been misunderstood to the point where people think if they want strong bones, they've got to take calcium supplements. No, no, no. Calcium hardens cement, but it doesn't harden bones, because bones aren't made of calcium. Bones are made of minerals. Bones are made of 12 minerals and 64 trace minerals. Well, where do we find those minerals? In the Celtic salt, in its perfect form. Where else? Dark green leafy vegetables. Look at the size of the bones of the cow, of the orangutan, of the elephant. They're all vegetarian creatures, and they've got very big bones. Where do they get their minerals for their bones from? Dark green leafy vegetables. We should eat dark green leafy vegetables every day. And you do not lose your minerals when you cook your vegetables. You will only lose your minerals if you cook your vegetables in water and throw the water away. There's all your minerals. Use waterless cooking. Put the tiniest little bit of water in, put it on a low heat with the lid on, and let it slowly cook. And then use it all. But with spinach, silver beet, you don't even need to put water in there, do you? So much water comes out of it. When you cook vegetables in their own juice, you get a lovely flavour. So vitamin D deficiency can cause high blood pressure, because if there's a deficiency in vitamin C, the calcium and the minerals can't get in. And what the body does, it builds up pressure to try and force it in. Another cause of high blood pressure can be wheat and sugar. How so? We explained last night. You see, wheat and sugar both break down to glucose, and as we looked at last night in the diabetes lecture, high amounts quickly. and glucose cannot get into the cell by itself, it must